I, 29 female, was hosting a party for my mom and stepdad's wedding anniversary. I flew out my 3 step-siblings and their partners to all spend the week in my city, and then on the weekend, we would have the party. I and my husband live in a pretty small flat, so there wasn't enough rooms for everyone to stay, so we offered my stepbrother Mark and his partner Fran to stay in our yacht for the week. No one in our family likes Fran, because she is a militant social justice warrior and can't keep her opinions to herself, and she's always no general etiquette. So the week went on with Fran making out-of-pocket comments about our city and lifestyle, which was expected, but still annoying. One night, me and my husband were attending a party, and I didn't really fancy inviting Fran and Mark, but we did, and surprisingly everything was fine. We didn't see them for most of the evening. We invited a few people back to our yacht for an after-party, and of course Mark and Fran were there. Fran was quite intoxicated and started making inappropriate comments that were making people feel a bit awkward. One of our friends was telling a story about how he did something funny that incurred a fine. Fran got upset and said how the fine he'd paid was more than most people make in a year, and he should be ashamed to be happy to throw that much money around. She said she was sad to see the amount of money being spent in our city and how ungrateful and wasteful we all are. Cue awkward silence. I jokingly said that next time Fran should take herself camping, because I didn't spend the money to fly her out here, treat her to dinners and parties and yachts for her to be sad, and everyone laughed and moved on. Eventually everyone left and we went to bed. The next morning, I told Mark and Fran that I was humiliated and horrified by her behavior, and I wouldn't have people being disrespectful to me while staying on my property. Of course, they were still welcome to come to the party, and the flights home were taken care of, but they couldn't stay on the yacht until the party. I probably would have relented if there had been genuine remorse from them, but Fran doubled down on her attitude, and I'd had it. After a brief argument, they left and went to stay in a hotel. The party went off without a hitch. We were all keeping the peace for parents' sake. A few days after they'd gone home, they sent me a bill for their hotel stay, saying that since I'd kicked them off the yacht, I should pay for their expenses. I sent them a response telling them where they could put their bill. This made the rounds, and my parents are now asking that I pay the bill, as it was a lot of money for them and not for me, and they came on holiday with the expectation that they wouldn't have to budget for accommodation. I said they wouldn't have had to if they'd had an ounce of decency, and that I won't be paying. But my parents are begging me to, so that it doesn't impact Mark and Fran financially. Am I the a-hole? Fran didn't appreciate your hospitality. Giving her and your stepbro a place to stay, while admittedly a nice gesture, was a favor from you, not a duty on your part. And there's no reason you should keep extending that favor to someone when they embarrass you in front of your guests. Not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. You did go back on your word. You should have offered a flight home that day, or accommodations in a crap hotel. You never said, I will pay your way as long as you are nice to my friends. They were stranded there, and you knew who she was when you offered to let them stay. Pay the bill, and don't offer your accommodations again. Not the a-hole, as you have every right to not tolerate what you deem disrespectful on your own property. And like you said, Fran doubled down and showed no remorse. That being said, if it doesn't hurt your finances, you should probably pay it just to be the bigger person and keep the peace. Who knows? Your parents might have to end up paying, which would kinda suck. But send them a check and add a note saying that you will never tolerate this behavior again, and they are no longer welcome on your property until you get a proper apology. If they don't apologize, cut ties and don't ever help them out financially. Okay, so I'm one of 3 kids that my mom and dad had before the divorce. I'm the youngest, and they split when I was 5, and my dad has been in and out of our lives since the ink dried. He moved in with his girlfriend and her kids, and while they got to spend every day with him, me, my brother, and my sister saw him at best twice a year, and it's been this way for 2 decades now. When my sis was 17, she had her first, and named him after our grandfather, who she was always close to. At 19, she then had twins, a boy and a girl, who she named after a deceased uncle on mom's side, and a cousin that we grew up with. My brother at 21 had his first, and he too named his first son after a family member, our dad's brother, who looked after us when mom had to work and my dad was watching his other kids. And later on, my brother had another son, but he was named after someone on my sister-in-law's side of the family. And after that, my sister again, when she was 30, had another son, and just made him a junior after his dad. My dad has maybe met his grandkids a handful of times, and even then it wasn't him actively coming to see them. More, they were just at the same place at the same time, like at a family barbecue or wedding. He'd always laugh and say how he couldn't wait for one of his grandkids to be named after him. Now, I know I'm sure as hell not gonna name any of my kids after him, and I'm the one with the best relationship with him out of us 3. Now, when I got my girlfriend, 27 female, pregnant and had a boy, we gave him his own original name, but his middle name is a male version of my mother's name. When my dad found out what we named him, he flipped out. He made a group chat, sent voice notes cussing us out, saying we're disrespecting him, and that he deserves to be honored, and that the names we picked for our children are awful, and that they were named after such losers, and demanded to know why we haven't named a single grandchild after him. Frankly, I told him that there were so many more people in our lives that helped take care of us and helped raising us that deserved to be honored more than he did, that he didn't even do the bare minimum. My brother said that maybe his girlfriend's kids will name their kid after him. This was in poor taste, I'll admit, because one is unable to have kids, and the other doesn't want any, and even if they did, they're too much of an addict to be allowed to keep their children. We argued back and forth about this, and he threatened to cut us off from the whole family, except that backfired, as no relatives followed his lead. He later called me crying to change my son's name to his, but I love my son's name, and so does my girlfriend, so I told him no. It's been weeks since I've heard from him, but he won't return any calls or messages. His girlfriend says he's alive, and that's all we need to know, and remarked how cruel we were, and always have been. I know the not picking his name thing isn't our bad, but are we at fault for telling him why, and for getting him blacklisted from the family too? He is being ridiculous. Sounds like he was barely a father then, and clearly hasn't matured. Hell no, you are not at fault in any way at all. You did the right thing in telling him. He's throwing a tantrum because he didn't get his way. Just let him go. Sounds like he is not adding anything to your life anyway. He made his choice a long time ago. You didn't really do anything though, did you? He just caused all this mess by himself. Just ignore him and live your life as you were. I work in the hospitality industry and my girlfriend is a teacher. My company has 8 restaurants and I'm the operation manager. For some time I was dreaming of opening my own restaurant. My girl's family owns a commercial property. Her dad shut down his business because my girlfriend and her sister were not interested in their family business. Her sister and her husband work in IT and live in another city. Last year, her parents suggested I rent their empty property to start my own restaurant. I told them I wouldn't be able to pay any deposit money right now, but they were fine with just monthly rent and told me to go ahead with my plan. I quit my job since I had to spend most of the day visiting and talking to various vendors. I started to buy kitchen equipment. I sent them the rent agreement papers as it was required to get all the necessary licenses. After about 2 weeks, they called me over for dinner and informed me that my girlfriend's sister has decided to come back and wanted the same property to open their own business. They think it's the only way for her to come back as there are very few IT companies in our city. I was heartbroken, but it was ultimately their property. My girlfriend blasted her parents, but I told her to just let it go. My mom said I was stupid to quit my job on a verbal agreement. I didn't want to sour my relationship with them and just went low contact with them. I took another job. After 2 months, I got to know from my girlfriend that her sister was also planning to open their own restaurant. I was shocked because they didn't have any experience. According to them, how hard can it be to run a restaurant because hundreds of them are running all over the city? Although I was invited to the opening of their restaurant, I skipped going, citing prior work commitment. I maintained low contact with them all and got busy with my new job. Now, after 6 months, suddenly her parents invited me over again. Over dinner, they informed me that her sister's restaurant wasn't running smoothly and they were losing a lot of money every month. They wanted my help to run the restaurant. Her husband suggested that I work for them as a manager. I got really angry and said I wasn't unemployed and wasn't looking for a job. My girlfriend also got really angry. As things started to get heated, her parents suggested that I could join the business as a partner. They were even willing to loan me the money for my share. This way, I could be an equal partner in the business and I could pay them back over the years. Sister and her husband agreed to this, but I straight away refused. Her sister and her husband said they're willing to compromise, and I am just being an a-hole for holding on to my ego. Her parents want us to get along, even if I refuse their offer. I don't want their help, even if it means I have to keep working for years before I get to start my own business. I don't think I am in the wrong here. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They have already shown you that they do not honor all of their agreements, and you've already paid a price in learning that lesson. It would be foolish to go into a partnership with people who do not act in good faith. Not the a-hole. The old saying, fool me once, definitely works here, and you should never have any kind of business relationship with these people. Definitely not the a-hole, but in-laws are. Holy cow. I'd be seriously pissed at them and commend you for being civil to them. Their total lack of understanding of the restaurant business, but still wanting to open one, are astounding. How hard can it be? Plenty. That's why so many fail. It's a hell of an effort to start a restaurant, make it successful, and keep at it. I'd not bail them out either. They picked this easy industry and couldn't make it work. Now they expect you to bail them out from their stupidity. I'd wait to be able to open the restaurant you want, the way you want, and without all the strings attached. And great on your girlfriend for having your back and standing up to her family. I've been with my boyfriend for 15 months now. A year ago, his older sister moved to the same town as us. When she moved here, I was looking forward to trying to build a relationship with her. I even helped her find a room to rent at the house of one of my friends and helped her move in. Within a month of her living there, my friend gave her notice to find somewhere else to live. Boyfriend's sister then proceeded to make my friend feel uncomfortable in her own home by completely ignoring her and inviting an unknown man to stay, who then physically assaulted my friend when asked to leave. I spoke to my friend and tried to calm the situation, whilst feeling embarrassed that I had suggested someone like this move into her home. Boyfriend's sister denied all of the above, and boyfriend said my friend must be exaggerating. I knew this was not the case. I had a room I was about to move into, and boyfriend asked if I would allow his sister to use the room instead for a couple of weeks until he found her somewhere else to live. I stupidly agreed, as I was staying with him most nights, and I thought it would be short term. Helped her move into my room, and what was supposed to be 2 weeks turned into almost 3 months. During this time, my boyfriend's lack of effort to find her alternative accommodation caused many arguments. I had rented that room as an escape from my toxic, aggressive mother, so I could have some respite while trying to care for my dying father. He knew how important it was for me to have my own space, yet he made no attempt to find somewhere else for his sister to live. In fact, she only ended up moving out when I found her somewhere else, even though I did not feel like it was my responsibility to do so. Ever since then, it has been an endless struggle with his sister's behavior, and me trying to get my boyfriend to defend me. His sister was given a job at the same place as I worked, and she would often completely ignore me, or try to intimidate me with various looks of general behavior. At first I ignored this. I had much bigger problems and, to be honest, thought this was playground BS. But when his sister started complaining to my boyfriend, I decided to set the record straight. My boyfriend has continually failed to address his sister's behavior, made excuses, and has disbelieved me the entire time, even accusing me of trying to stop him seeing his sister. I've continued to remain polite, tried to include her, and made an effort to apologize for any part I may have had in the situation. I have absolutely no interest in having a relationship with her now, but I cared enough about my boyfriend to not make life more difficult for him. In October, the day after I found my father passed away, I was crying at work, and when his sister saw this, she laughed at me, fully knowing the reason behind it. When I told him and he asked her about this, she didn't even try to deny it. His response was to ask her not to do it again. A few days ago, my boyfriend revealed he had a conversation with his sister, in which she admitted that what I've been telling him all along was the truth. I feel infuriated that after all this time, he now only believes me after she decided to be honest. Even after finding out the truth, after a day of being angry at her, he has resumed their relationship as normal. I've asked him to create some distance with her for a while, enforce boundaries, and show her he will not tolerate treating me this way. He has refused and said I cannot make him choose not to talk to her. I am just completely exhausted by this situation. I have dealt with all this unnecessary stress, being disbelieved by my boyfriend, and having my intentions questioned, all while trying to grieve my father with no other family support. I feel like he's allowed someone to hurt me when I've been at my most vulnerable, and his constant lack of defending me has completely destroyed my confidence and made me feel worthless. I even left my job, in large part due to the fact she was making things so uncomfortable for me. He said if she steps out of line again, he will cut her off. But I feel like after she's manipulated the both of us, it's not enough to just carry on as normal. I just don't know if I can carry on with someone who refuses to have my back, even in the face of proof. His sister indeed sounds like a nightmare, but you shouldn't break up with him because of it. You should break up with him because he is a bad partner to you, doesn't care about your needs, and puts his sister above you in his list of priorities. I am so ducking angry on your behalf. She is cruel and manipulative, but he swallows it whole. He doesn't stick up for you. He doesn't trust you when you tell him how horrible she's been, and he thinks that "don't do that again" is an appropriate response to someone laughing at their grieving significant other. What the duck? You are well into deal-breaker territory. Break up. Your boyfriend obviously has zero respect for you. You're barely a year and a half in, and he's already showing you massive disrespect. If you think it's bad now, it will be 1,000 times worse if you guys get married, have kids. Save yourself a lot of stress by just getting out. You're young, and there are plenty of guys out there who will treat you right and be willing to defend you at any point.